When we design a test, we are calibrating an instrument. We need an empirical window into the covert internal cognition of a student. Handing out a grade is a simple administrative task, but generating a valid, score-based inference about what a student actually knows requires absolute precision. Historically, educators have relied on these instruments to sort and compare large populations of students, ranking their relative mastery of a given subject. But there is a severe vulnerability in this process. If the testing instrument itself malfunctions, the data it produces is corrupted, and the resulting inference is entirely false. Securing the validity of that inference means we have to stop treating every failed question as a student error and recognize when we are looking at a mechanical anomaly in the test itself. Look at this dataset. Here we have a severe anomaly on item 28. The students who scored the lowest on the overall exam are getting this specific question right, while the top-performing students are consistently getting it wrong. The data flags red. In psychometrics, this is called a negative discriminator. The question operates in reverse, heavily penalizing the most knowledgeable students in the room. When you see this, you have to ask, did the instruction create a widespread structural misconception among the best students, or is the test item mathematically flawed? To find out, educators employ a dual-engine optimization framework. This method uses quantitative empiricism to isolate exactly where the error occurred, and structured human judgment to diagnose the root cause of the failure. This formula on screen calculates the p-value, the basic measure of an item's difficulty. We divide the number of right answers, r, by the total number of students, t. But a p-value is heavily influenced by blind guessing, giving us an incomplete picture. For a test designed to compare students against one another, the true metric of quality is the discrimination index, or D. We calculate this by separating the class into two distinct halves, the high scores and the low scores. By subtracting the success rate of the lower half from the upper half, we isolate the item's ability to differentiate. Values above 0.40 signify a strong, effective item that rewards mastery. A negative value provides mathematical proof that the item is failing its primary objective. To understand why the best students are missing it, we have to perform a forensic dive into the specific answers. This is a distractor analysis matrix. We use this tool to look inside that negative D value and see exactly how the high and low groups responded to every single option. Look at the correct answer, option B. Only 5 of the upper-tier students chose it, while 10 of the lower-tier students managed to select it. The data reveals a highly specific cognitive trap in alternative D. 8 of the top 15 students were seduced by this option, whereas exactly 0 students in the bottom group picked it. Meanwhile, alternative C offers 0 diagnostic value. Literally no one selected it, making it dead weight. The mathematics have isolated the exact point of failure. The high performers are systematically drawn to option D, but equations alone cannot tell us the psychological reason why this is happening. To answer the why, we engage the second engine, a structured qualitative review. This process evaluates the item against 5 strict criteria. We look closely at content accuracy and the absence of lacunae. A lacunae is a gap. In testing, it represents a missing link between the explicit instruction you provided and the implicit assumptions the student had to make to avoid a trap like option D. Test authors have inherent blind spots regarding confusing phrasing or bias. Bringing in peer reviews and establishing student feedback loops exposes these structural flaws. There is a strict constraint to this protocol. Students must complete the exam first, then receive a blank copy to critique. They cannot play the role of test taker and test reviewer at the same time. This human judgment identifies the misleading wording or the logical gap. It transforms a raw mathematical anomaly into an actionable correction. All of this analysis assumes we want to sort students by relative performance, but in a criterion reference testing paradigm, the objective shifts. The goal is absolute mastery of a specific skill, regardless of how peers perform. Imagine a scenario of flawless, highly effective instruction. At the end of the unit, almost every student answers a highly complex question correctly. If we apply the traditional discrimination formula to this perfect teaching scenario, the upper half scores a 1.0 and the lower half scores a 1.0. 1.0 minus 1.0 equals 0. Under traditional psychometrics, a 0 indicates total item failure. The mathematical model actively penalizes the teacher for achieving perfect instructional success. This visual shows alternate formulas, specifically designed for criterion reference testing. They compare post-instruction scores against pre-instruction baselines, or instructed groups against uninstructed groups. A mathematical metric built to measure peer-to-peer variance is completely useless when your true goal is measuring an item's sensitivity to instruction. The dual-engine approach creates a continuous operational loop. Empirical metrics act as the gears, locating the structural weaknesses in the data, while qualitative human review acts as the steering, recalibrating the instrument. But the entire system collapses if you choose the wrong metric. Mismatching the pedagogical mission with the mathematical equation guarantees a false conclusion. Educators have to explicitly decide whether they are measuring comparative rank or absolute mastery, and lock in the corresponding mathematical tool before the exam is ever administered. The ultimate responsibility lies in ensuring that the architecture of the test accurately mirrors the architecture of the curriculum. Conducting an assessment autopsy requires time and precision. We do not polish test items to satisfy administrative vanity or to achieve perfect statistical symmetry on a spreadsheet. We do it because these tests are the only empirical windows we have into the covert internal status of student cognition. A flawed item yields a flawed inference. If we trust that broken data, we will prescribe destructive educational interventions to students who do not need them, or ignore the students who do. A rigorously validated instrument guarantees targeted instruction. It is the only mechanism capable of transforming raw classroom data into true pedagogical insight.